I forgot to get my microphone down. Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire geek. And welcome to my midweek live news stream. Not a lot of stories this week. I'm going to keep it short because my computer's acting up. So we'll keep it short. I've got a new computer on the way. Hopefully it's going to be super ace, but we will see. We will see. Right. So before we start, don't forget, like and subscribe. Hang on, where are we? There we go. Like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. I'm also on Rumble. By the way, make sure we're live everywhere. I'm live on YouTube, obviously. Wingray says he sees aliens. Do they? Oh, right. Okay. Oh, yes, that one there. We're live on Rumble. Let me check that one. Come on, Rumble, show the thing here, Bob. There we go. Yes, we're live on Rumble. And we're live on Twitch. Don't know why I keep doing Twitch. Barely get any views. But anyway, so we're live on those. I've also got a Patreon page with my lone patron so far, Archmage Frey. Maybe we'll get more. Put a new video up today, finally, after like 3 days of trying to render this video. Unbelievable. In magical monochrome robot monster, so that you can watch that on my Patreon page if you want to. Where are we? Right, let's get rid of that now, and we'll go to the comments. There we go. And what else? Later on, it'll be up on Spotify, Amazon Music Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links in the description, as well as links to my 2 books. They're down there. Can't be bothered getting them. Right, let's get on with this story. Anyway, so Archmage Frey says, "Oh, you know why? Do I know what? I hardly get any views on Twitch. I don't know." I don't know. I don't understand Twitch at all. Right, let's get on with this news. Right, okay. Make myself titch tiny before I forget. Oh, crikey. I'm yawning. My ducks is like, I don't know. My son woke me up at 5 o'clock this morning. But I got off to sleep again for another couple of hours. But I've been up all day. Another dramatic day with my computer. And I'm yawning a bit. And I'm not feeling that well. To be honest, feeling a bit iffy. Anyway, that's enough of my woes. Right, is this going to come on? Yes, right, there we go. Star Wars, Timothy Olyphant plays coy about returning for Dave Filoni's movie. This is on Comic Book. As usual, links in the description. Forgot to say that, didn't I? Better rest up. Have a music. Yes, I do. Got a musical to watch, haven't we? We'll get to that. Yes, rest. Yes. Or reet. I might even reet up because that's a Yorkshire word, isn't it? Reet. I'll be all reet. That's what we say instead of all right. All reet. Anyway, the Star Wars galaxy is headed back onto the big screen soon. We'll see. With 3 new movies, we'll see, announced earlier this year at the Star Wars Celebration Convention. Among these is a movie that will be helmed by Dave Filoni. In my opinion, probably the only one of the 3 that'll get made. And I've got a feeling, I've nothing to back this up, it's just a feeling in my ample gut that it may end up being a Disney Plus exclusive movie, or, like that Predator film, Prey, and films like that, they'll end up just not going in the theatres. We will see anyway. Anyway, excuse me, which is expected to continue much of the canon established on the franchise's recent Disney Plus shows, including Star Wars The Mandalorian and Star Wars Ahsoka. Just call The Mandalorian and Ahsoka. Nobody ever says Star Wars Ahsoka, do they? Anyway, the film is sure to see the return of a number of characters already introduced on Star Wars shows, and given his role on The Mandalorian and Star Wars The Book of Boba Fett, it stands to reason that Cobb Vanth, Timothy Olyphant, might be among them. In a recent appearance on the Playlist's Binge-Worthy podcast, Olyphant was asked if he has had talks with Filoni about him returning, prompting him to respond, "If I had talks with Filoni, I wouldn't tell you." Honestly, I can tell you that I've been very, very lucky with those guys, Olyphant explained. I've only done 2 episodes, and to have only done those 2 episodes and feel like you're part of a world and they created such a memorable character, I mean, I'm getting away with something here. I did 2 episodes, he just said, and I've got like 4 toys out there. It's ridiculous. And I know it because all of a sudden there's people at the airport with toys. That's new. But it was a ball working on those things. And those guys know if they call me, I'd show up. I don't care if it's a big giant thing or just to show up for an afternoon. It's a fun gig. And his second episode he did was the season 2 opening episode. I think. Yes, it was. Which were amazing. Was directed by Jon Favreau, and it was like super cinematic where they were fighting the great dragon in that. That was a great episode of that. Teaming up with the Tusken Raiders. Anyway, while details on Filoni's Star Wars movie are relatively slim, including the movie's release date, we do know that it will be set during the New Republic era and will have an epic event quality to it. Jon Favreau and I have our own little theatre that we've been playing in, but Star Wars is a big galaxy. I think there's a lot of possibilities. It's a big galaxy, but they always go back to Tatooine, don't they? I think there's a lot of possibilities, but we do things our own way. Filoni told comicbook.com earlier this year. I think of, A New Hope is an important moment in the timeline. Probably the most important because it started off the franchise, didn't it? For Christ's sake. The Death Star blows up. That changes everything. A cinematic moment for this time period has to be a moment that's changing things, and we understand it as the audience, and then it can ripple down. If we have other shows going on underneath that. So if there was a show taking place in the New Hope time period that you were watching as a kid, like Andor, perchance, you would understand that things have changed. I know that takes place before, but, it's more or less in the same time period. You would understand that things have changed in the show because the Death Star blew up, but they didn't necessarily need to be there. So there's a ton of possibilities for how to tell these stories in a unique way for Star Wars as well. That's it. Right, very good. Like I say, I like seeing other Star Wars stories that basically essentially not connected to the Skywalkers. That's why Rogue One is probably my favourite Star Wars film, because it's a war film and there's essentially it's nothing to do with the Skywalkers. Yeah, one shows up at the end, but whatever. But yeah, that's it. I wouldn't be surprised if he pops up, makes a cameo in the movie. But you never know. You never know. Obviously, with a movie, you have less time, aren't you, than you have with a series. To get it done in like 2 hours, or movies these days, 12 and a half hours, they seem to be. Bring back intermissions. I know I said that. When did I say that? Recently. Anyway, we'll move on. We will move on. What's next? Star Trek next. Oh, can't wake myself up. Just translate. I said, wake myself up with some Coca-Cola. Right, let's put this back. Hang on. Let me remove that again. Because Windgrace is saying some movies are longer than series now. Boggles the mind. I know. Like I said, bring back intermissions and what they call it, overtures. I love it when you get them on DVDs and Blu-rays. The old films with the overtures and the intermissions. It's I'm an old-fashioned guy. Plus, it gives you a chance to go for a wee as well. Being an old fart, I've got to go for wees a lot. Anyway, Star Trek's Jonathan Frakes talks Enterprise finale regrets. There's no shortage of bad series finales. In the eyes of some fans, the final episodes of Game of Thrones, Dexter, Lost, The Blacklist, and many more will never be good enough. Of those, I've only seen Game of Thrones. It's always difficult to balance fan expectations with the creator's artistic vision and the realities of television production. While all of those finales are controversial, they also have their defenders somewhere. And then there's Star Trek Enterprise, the early 2000s era, set years before most of the Trek shows we're used to. By 2005, the Star Trek franchise was already in trouble, with Enterprise never receiving the ratings or positive reactions that the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager had enjoyed. Audience fatigue had set in, so only hardcore Star Trek fans were left watching, like me. I love Enterprise. However, while this wasn't good for ratings, Enterprise had a strong base of core fans who stood behind the show when the now defunct UPN, that United Paramount Network or something it stood for. I can't remember. UPN Network tried to cancel it after season 3. A fan campaign saved Enterprise for season 4, but it was moved to the Friday night time slot of death, much like they did with the original series. Wingate says, I love the Enterprise finale, a random episode, not as a finale, and without the trip BS. Well, yeah, I don't mind it now. I've watched it again. I obviously didn't like it at first, but it's not that bad. But there was a fan theory, wasn't there, knocking about that I've seen recently, that it was because it were on the holodeck, it was like a bad holodeck program that wasn't accurate, basically. So, Trip might still be around. Anyway, where were we? Ratings continue to fall, leading to cancellation. And then came the series finale. These are the Voyagers. Instead of focusing on what had made Enterprise a unique show, this final episode felt like an extension of the Next Generation, featuring extensive appearances by characters like William Riker, Jonathan Frakes, and Deanna Troi, Marina Sirtis, as well as the voice of Data Brent Spiner, playing characters that were like years older than they were supposed to be, because they were supposed to be in, I think, season 6 of the Next Generation, which was, I don't know, early 90s, wasn't it? I can't remember the exact. And they were doing this in about 10 years, over 10 years later. So you can see like Jonathan Frakes like sucking his gut in. But anyway, because it was set during the events of the episode The Pegasus. Or These Are the Voyagers, which were I think a season 6, Next Generation season 6 episode, I think. Anyway, where were we? The events of Enterprise were relegated to holodeck flashbacks of things that happened long ago in the Star Trek timeline. Can't speak. This did not go over well with fans who had worked to save the show. Despite the backlash, it's easy to see why executive producers Rick Berman and Brannon Braga thought the episode might be a good idea. The cancellation of Enterprise marked the end of Star Trek on television for the next 12 years. Meaning These Are the Voyagers. I'm just thinking on television, yes. But like I said, 4 years later, J.J. Abrams do his thing, wouldn't he? These Are the Voyagers wasn't just the finale for Enterprise, but Star Trek as it then existed, so widening the scope made some sense. Speaking with Trek Movie, Frakes acknowledges that Enterprise fans didn't want to see their show turned into something else out of nowhere. It was sold as, oh, come on and do the episode. It will be a Valentine to the fans. It wasn't a Valentine to the fans. The fans didn't want to see us, Frakes acknowledges, adding that the more I think about it, the more I hear from fans about it. In particular, it may not have been the best choice we've made on Star Trek. Again, they're not all home runs. It's just unfortunate that was the last episode of that show. That last shot of the different captain ships doing the narration was brilliant. Yeah, well, lovely with that. The little finale thing showing the different enterprises gliding by, with the doing the space, the final frontier bit with the different captains. Yeah, that was cool. That one nice. Let's say it's not a terrible episode. It's not a terrible episode. It's just not a great finale. Anyway, where were we? One of the primary criticisms of the episode was that the focus was on the Next Generation cast rather than the cast of Enterprise, meaning fans didn't get closure on the show they'd been watching for 4 seasons. Producer Brannon Braga once admitted that some Enterprise cast members were very hurt that we would put Next Generation cast members on Enterprise. Despite the unrest, Frakes says that Scott Bakula, who played Captain Jonathan Archer, was professional about the whole thing. Scott Bakula was such a mensch about it. What the hell's a mensch? I know is it a Yiddish word? I don't know. But But all these other Trek shows went 7 seasons. Nobody wanted to be on a Star Trek show that didn't get to go to 7. And the inherent insult in having characters from another series that had done well come in to essentially close the books on this episode, it just felt so wrong to me. So who's saying that? Oh, Frakes. Frakes is saying that. Since the end of Enterprise, Star Trek has returned to the same prominence it enjoyed in the 1990s, with multiple shows either on the air or currently in the works. Frakes has been involved in almost all of them, directing the recent Strange New Worlds Lower Decks crossover, starring in Star Trek Picard, and directing the forthcoming Discovery finale. Yet despite his workload, the Riker actor still has the appetite to add one more show to his resume. Terry Metallis's proposed Star Trek legacy. We've got another article about that in a minute. Star Trek fans are loyal. It's not millions and millions of people. Yes, it is. And it's not the youngest fandom in the world, but I'm an eternal optimist. It is millions and millions of people. There are millions and millions of Star Trek fans, Jonathan. But I'm an eternal optimist, and I believe in a perfect world. They will find the assets and the energy and hire Terry to put together this legacy show, and that will, in fact, come to fruition. A new episode, are you ready? A new episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Subspace Rhapsody, drops tomorrow on Paramount Plus. Can't wait for that. Can't wait for it. Wingate says, they're all streaming shows. I don't know if you can call that on the air. I know, but it's TV, in it. I suppose that's how they view it. It's TV. But yeah, I've been watching Lower Decks. You know, I famously hate Lower Decks. I don't anymore. It's kind of growing on me. So there we go. So I've changed my mind about Lower Decks. I don't hate it. I did at the beginning. It was annoying. But as it's gone on, I was told it got better by Wingate, no less. And it does get better, and I'm quite enjoying it now, to be honest. To be completely honest. So there we go. I will now class myself as a Star Trek Lower Decks fan, thanks to Wingate. Unbelievable. Anyway, so that was it. So yeah, as we said, Star Trek Enterprise's finale wasn't that bad. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't that bad. If you go and watch it, you know, you'll think, no, it's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. But anyway, right, so let's move on. Where's the other one? Well, actually, we'll do this one next. So we're out of order here. No, we won't. We'll stay with the order. We'll split up the articles. I've got another Star Trek Legacy one, but we'll go with Doctor Who in between. But in the meantime, Lower Decks really makes me wish they had turned the Titan into an animated series. Yeah, well, that's how. I don't know how far. I think I'm in. I can't remember what season I'm on now. I think I'm on season 2. And there's that. It's when Boimler's on the Titan, isn't it? So there's like a couple of episodes in there that shows him on the Titan, which were kind of cool. So it was nice seeing the Titan and Riker doing his stuff. What is it? When he goes to warp, his thing to go to warp, isn't it? Isn't like, you know, make it so it's and let's go to warp 1 and the 2 and the 3. It's dead silly, isn't it? That made me laugh. Anyway, right. So where were we? Right. Doctor Who. There we go. It's weird that it doesn't show up until I wiggle my mouse pointer over the other screen. And I'm getting that thing on again. Connection is unstable. I have no idea why. I don't know if it's my computer or if it's StreamYards. Don't know. Anyway, let's just plod on and make sure we're still going. It says excellent connection on YouTube. And we're still going on Rimble. Anybody watching? 2 watching. One of them's me. And we're still going on Twitch. Yes, we're right. Right, Doctor Who. Neil Patrick Harris laughs at the human race in new Doctor Who 60th anniversary special teaser. David Tennant's Doctor comes face to face with the toy maker, and there he is. The BBC's long-running science fiction series Doctor Who is celebrating its 60th anniversary this year, and to celebrate, 3 specials are set to arrive later this year. To drum up enthusiasm for the upcoming specials, the BBC has been releasing sneak peeks from each special on Instagram. The first special is titled The Star Beast. A teaser for the second, titled Wild Blue Yonder, was released last week, and on Wednesday, the BBC directed fans' attention to the third special, titled The Giggle. Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah, they officially confirmed he's the toy maker. It looks like it, doesn't it? Anyway, in the short teaser released for The Giggle, David Tennant's 14th Doctor, he's still the 10th, isn't he? Don't know why they're making now it's 14th. Anyway, pardon me. David Tennant's 14th Doctor and Catherine Tate's Donna Noble take centre stage, coming face to face with How I Met Your Mother star Neil Patrick Harris. He's Doogie Howser, isn't it? And that bloke off that Gestapo SS fella off Starship Troopers. That's who he is. I've never seen How I Met Your Mother. Who is set to play a dastardly villain. There's a lot of not seen. There's more of not seen than what I have seen. Windgrace has seen everything because he is omnipresent. So anyway. He's here, the Doctor says, driving you mad, laughing at the human race. That's my impersonation of David Tennant there. He's here, driving you mad, laughing at the human race with his mad eyes. We'll see, because I think there's a video down there. The ominous lines delivered by the Doctor are played over clips from the upcoming special, and a spine-tingling laugh or giggle bookends the short teaser, presumably from Harris. The 3 60th anniversary specials mark a series of returns of former stars and talent associated with Doctor Who. Tennant, who first appeared as the 10th Doctor in the season finale of the show's modern revival in 2005 and became a fan favourite over the course of multiple seasons, was stunningly revealed as the 14th Doctor when Jodie Whittaker's 13th incarnation regenerated. Russell T. Davies. Clothes and all, the clothes regenerated as well, which I think might be the first time we've seen that. I could be wrong. Russell T. Davies, the architect behind the show's modern revival and responsible for a number of its highest-rated episodes, also returns as showrunner. Tate, who first appeared in the 2006 Christmas special, The Runaway Bride, I think. Told you. Look, How I Met Your Mother did a musical episode with Neil Patrick Harris. There we go. Told you'd seen it. Where one? Tate, who first appeared in the 2006 Christmas special before returning for the 4th season of the modern revival and subsequently the 2009 Christmas special and 2010 New Year's special, is also back as Donna Noble. However, even though old faces are returning, it's important to note that Tennant's return is very much the 14th and not the 10th Doctor. He even has a new sonic screwdriver. Yeah, but he still says Alonzi, doesn't he? So that means he's still the 10th. An exact date for Doctor Who's return to television screens has yet to be confirmed, but the actual 60th anniversary of the very first episode of the classic show is November 23rd, 2023, so I expect the 3 specials to be released around this date. In the United Kingdom, the show will be broadcast on the BBC and simultaneously broadcast outside the UK on Disney+, following a deal struck last October. Following the 3 specials, Ncuti Gatwa will take the reins of the TARDIS as the 15th Doctor, alongside new companion Ruby Sunday, portrayed by Millie Gibson. For now, enjoy the short Instagram teaser for The Giggle below. Right, let's have a look then. What did you do that for?
You mad. Laughing at the human race.
We'll watch that again because it's really, really short.
He's here, driving you mad. Laughing at the human race.
Very good. I'm going to have to remove that now just to faff about. Why did it open up in a new window? Fine. We'll go back to that now. Right. There we go. Who's laughing at who and why? The third of this year's 60th anniversary special is titled The Giggle. There we go. Oh, that's it. Oh, fair enough. So there we go. Laughing at the human race. Anyway. Alonzi. Right. So there we go. So it looks like he's, confirmed as the toy maker. Although, I don't know if he is or not. Anyway. Let's hope they don't waste Neil Patrick Harris like they did with Ben Browder in that Western episode. Yeah, we're in that one. Yes, it was in that one. I can't really remember, to be honest. I vaguely remember it. But anyway, let's move on. What we got next? Star Trek Legacy. I haven't read this article, so it could be, something and nothing. It's on Screen Rant, so it's probably nothing. Star Trek Legacy, why hasn't Paramount Plus greenlit Picard spin-off? Probably because of the strike, probably. Star Trek Legacy is at the top of fans' most wanted list of possible Trek shows, but the Picard spin-off is yet to receive the green light. Here's why. And there's the lovely Jerry Ryan as Captain 7 of 9 of the Titan A. I'm not going to say Enterprise G because I don't like that they've made the Titan the Enterprise. And there's Sir Pat as Admiral Picard. Admiral. Right. Despite an obvious appetite for it, Star Trek Legacy, Terry Matalas's proposed spin-off from the hugely popular Star Trek Picard Season 3, is yet to be greenlit by Paramount. Stop trying to make out that Star Trek Picard as a whole is hugely popular, because Seasons 1 and 2 were bloody awful. Actually, I can't say that, because I quite enjoyed Season 1 up to the last episode. But I acknowledge its faults, but I did quite enjoy it up to the last episode. Anyway, and there are several reasons for this. The ending of Picard's final season left the door wide open for a new Star Trek show that would follow the adventures of the the USS Titan A, commanded by Captain 7 of 9, Jerry Ryan. Picard Season 3 showrunner Terry Matalas has teased that such a show, Star Trek Legacy, would feature characters from the franchise's past, present, and future, as it told the story of Starfleet in the early 25th century. The greatest opening credits of any TV series ever, that. Buck Rogers in the 25th century. Season 1. A petition to make Star Trek Legacy has reached over 60,000 signatures. Is that the Popcast guys one? Probably. Almost double the amount of a similar petition that got Star Trek Strange New Worlds commissioned. While Star Trek Legacy seems like an obvious choice for Paramount's next addition to the franchise, no announcement has been forthcoming. Instead, long gestating projects like Star Trek Starfleet Academy and Michelle Yeoh's Star Trek Section 31 have been confirmed, although Section 31 has been demoted. Is it classed as demoted? I don't know. From a series to a movie, a streaming movie. So yes, it is kind of a demotion, isn't it? Anyway, have been confirmed with no sign of a green light for Legacy, because Kurtzman's probably eating his own hands in anger. Fans shouldn't lose hope, however, as Star Trek's creative director Alex Kurtzman has acknowledged the fervent appetite for Star Trek Legacy. It's just unfortunate that there are some major obstacles currently standing in the way of the Star Trek Picard spin-off becoming a reality. And there's the Titan A, Constitution 3 class. Is that like a Neo Constitution class? Is it Constitution 3? I can't remember now what it said. Anyway, whatever. The harsh reality facing Star Trek Legacy is that Paramount is making less rather than more Star Trek shows to streamline budgets. Well, get rid of Starfleet Academy then. Nobody wants to see that. Apart from the people that are in it, they want to see it, and the families. It was recently announced that Star Trek Prodigy Season 2 wouldn't be appearing on Paramount Plus. Criminal. By the way, I finished the Star Trek Prodigy game, Star Trek Prodigy Supernova. I finished that the other day. It's on YouTube if you want to watch me playing it badly. and getting bamboozled by the puzzles in this kids' game. But I got there in the end. Anyway, where were we? While Star Trek Discovery Season 5 was cancelled with its fifth and final season. What are we talking about? That means Season 6 was cancelled. With its fifth and final season, or maybe just Star Trek Discovery was cancelled with its fifth and final season due to start streaming in early 2024. With Discovery and Prodigy being wound down and Star Trek Picard having already finished for good, it only leaves 2 ongoing Trek shows still in production, although they've both been impacted by separate real-world issues. While Star Trek Strange New Worlds and Star Trek Lower Decks have been confirmed for seasons 3 and 5 respectively, production on both shows has been halted by industrial action. Can't call it industrial action, can you really? It's writers and actors. It's not like they're throwing their spanners down in anger. And anyway, but never mind. Delays to Strange New Worlds Season 3 and Lower Decks Season 5 are the result of ongoing strikes by both the Writers and Film Actors Guilds of America. These strikes have also delayed production starting on Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Just cancel it. And Star Trek Section 31, cancel that as well. Until a better deal for writers and actors is offered by the studios and accepted by the unions. There will be no discussions about the future of Terry Metalis' proposed Star Trek Legacy project. Oh, pardon me. Star Trek Picard Season 3 was a huge success for Paramount Plus, regularly appearing in the Nielsen Top 10 and receiving critical acclaim and award recognition. If Paramount Plus cancelled Star Trek Prodigy based on numbers, then it should surely look at the impressive numbers achieved by Picard. In doing so, they would recognise that tapping into fan desire for Star Trek Legacy could expand the franchise with lucrative results for Paramount Plus. I don't understand I'd said it before, about Star Trek Prodigy. They cancelled it and removed it from the streaming service. And people have said, well, that's for tax reasons. So how can they allow then the creators of the show to finish season 2 and shop it around to another streamer? Shouldn't the entire franchise of Star Trek Prodigy now be sort of like on the shelf somewhere, or in a dumpster being burned? Because the tax man is like the Q, aren't they? All powerful. But I don't know. Where were we? On top of the fact that commissioning Star Trek Picard spin-off makes good business sense, Terry Metalis and his writing team have proved that there are plenty more stories to tell. The shock return of Q, John Delancey, and the post-Borg future faced by Starfleet. The Borg's still out there. I think they are. The proper Borg. And the post-Borg future faced by Starfleet provide a fascinating backdrop for new 25th century adventures that can reflect life in the 21st. The desire for Star Trek Legacy is undeniable, and it's hoped that once the ongoing strikes reach a satisfactory conclusion, Paramount will call Terry Metalis into a meeting to outline the next steps of the franchise, and that's it. And Win Grace is speaking. I don't think Prodigy is for tax reasons. I think they removed it so they can sell off the entirety of the show without any ties remaining at Paramount. Probably so. We will see. I don't know who's going to pick it up, though. I think probably Amazon's the most likely, but we will see. I say it could be Netflix, couldn't it? Because the Netflix has worked with them before, haven't they? So anyway, the producers worked with them before. Look at those graphics cards there. They wouldn't work on my computer, probably. I'm not having much fun with graphics cards these days. Right, so yes, they should do it. They should fast track Star Trek Legacy and put Starfleet Academy on the back burner. That's what they should do, in my opinion. Same with the Section 31 movie. Just put that on the back burner and see how this strike goes on. And they can use it as an excuse then to cancel things, can't they? And as soon as it's over, which I think will be sooner rather than later, to be honest, hopefully, they can say, right, we'll get Star Trek Legacy going and forget about the other two. Right, let's move on. What's next? Oh, right, this little nugget of news. Although it's not really news. Hey. Come on, there we go. That's weird, is that? Weird, is that? It won't show up on the screen until I move my mouse over it. Hang on, before we start. Mate Legacy, Mate Legacy, keep Strange New Worlds and spin off the animated Titan series, and I'll be a happy boy, says Win Grace. An animated Titan series would be cool. That'd be cool. Of course, obviously you'd be able to have Jonathan Frakes doing, a younger Riker during his Titan years, not having to dye his beard and hair and get de-aged and suck his gut in. Yeah, that'd be cool. Right. The scariest sci-fi movie came out 21 years ago today, and I thought, what are they on about? And then I saw that and I thought, nah. One of the best and scariest science fiction movies came out on this day 21 years ago, and here's why you should give it a spin if you haven't already. And obviously, it's Signs, isn't it? It's Signs they're talking about, because that's Joaquin Phoenix. Obviously, Mel Gibson also stars in the film. One of the scariest sci-fi movies. It's not scary. It has some cool, creepy moments, but it's not scary. Stop being such a big girl's blouse, Trudy. One of the scariest sci-fi movies from the 2000s came out 21 years ago today on August 2nd, 2002. And is that the royal we, Trudy? And we personally can't wait to rewatch what we think is one of the best science fiction movies of its decade. It is a good film. I do like Science, to be honest. It's got an amazing opening titles, music by I forgot his name, James Newton Howard. That sounds right. Him anyway. But it is a good film. The ending's not that not up to much. That's why it's not really scary, because the ending's a bit poo. Anyway, we're talking about a film helmed by famed director M. Night Shyamalan, known for his twists, sincerity, and last-minute contextualizing. His best movies leave us with mouths agape, lost in thought, and pondering big questions. His worst movies, well, we need not think about Avatar: The Last Airbender right now. Instead, we're focusing on the positive. I've not seen that one. I've not seen After Earth either. That's another one of his, isn't it? Anyway, Signs is a 2002 sci-fi thriller about a father, his two young children, and their uncle, who are held up in their house when evidence of alien life forms visiting Earth begins to surface. The film is largely about faith, how it's represented in different people, and how believers and non-believers may approach truth differently. Like most Shyamalan flicks, it holds out on you. The tease of the aliens is drawn out, and there's the lingering idea that the invasion may not actually be happening at all. In that respect, I don't know, because they're watching the TV and it's all kicking off, isn't it, all over the world. Plus, he locks one in a cupboard. Well, M. Night Shyamalan locks one in a larder or something, and Mel Gibson comes across it. When Grace says, Signs is great. I wouldn't call it scary. It's more anxious. Yeah, let's say it creeps more than shocks, doesn't it? It is good though. I do like it, but I'm into UFOs and stuff like that anyway. So that's it's interesting. They're talking about it now with all this talk of the senatorial, not senatorial, congressional hearing, wasn't there, that happened last week, which will come to nothing. Where were we? Right, in that respect, the movie plays with the character's perceptions of belief, with the father not buying into the events reported while his brother prepares for a world-changing few days. They sit there with the tinfoil hats on. Demonstrated in the scene where Joaquin Phoenix, who plays the uncle, plants himself in front of a TV set, oh, there we go, with the kids all wearing literal tinfoil hats. That's to stop the aliens reading your mind. If you've never seen it, check out the trailer above. There it is. And be careful when reading up about it. A good mystery is always best experienced for the first time with little prior knowledge. We're not going to tell you if the aliens are real or not, because watching the family contend with their different realities is the magic of the story. You may be wondering why we've called it scary, though. In the broadest sense, it's not horrific, but the eerie quiet of the house, the whispers of the characters, and the unsettling, unexplained events all make it so when the truth is revealed. It comes with a disturbing ripple due to how well the interiority, is that a word, of the film's world is fleshed out. Science is available to stream on Max from HBO Max. I don't know. We don't get that over here. It's probably on Amazon in the UK, probably. For more M. Night Shyamalan, blah, 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 blah. Knock at the Cabin. I've not seen that yet either. But yeah, it's good as signs. Like I say, I won't spoil it. Since they're not spoiling it, I won't spoil it. But I'll give you a clue. The little girl, played by, what's her name? She's all grown up now. Abigail something or other. She was in that zombie film. She was in that zombie film. What do they call that? A zombie film now? Zombieland. That. She was in that. She's all grown up now. But she's a tiny, teeny little girl. You can just see the top of her head there. But in that film, she's Abigail Breslin. That's it. Yeah, in Zombieland. Yeah. Told you knows all. Does win Grace. What was I saying? Oh my, yeah, she's in this film and she leaves glasses of water all over the house because she can't drink from water that's been left standing. It's one of her little quirks. But it is a cool film. And some cool, creepy scenes in it. And, it is really good. Give it a whirl wherever you can find it. Right. But 21 years. 21 years. I remember actually talking about it on internet back then when it first came out. Crikey. Because somebody I knew on the internet back then, can't remember the name, lived in the area, Bucks County in is it Pennsylvania, where it was filmed. Somebody lived in that area that I knew. Yes, science can legally drink in the USA. 18 over here. It's 18. Right, let's move on. What's next? This one. What have we done there? Oh, never mind. It's all right. It's fine. I say, if you're a Trekker, you probably know this one anyway. I did. Well, I knew the basics of it. Hilarious Star Trek movie moments happen thanks to one actor's mistake. And then we can guess which part it is. For decades, some Star Trek fans have been intrigued and puzzled by one accidental line that was delivered by a mystery woman in 1986's Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. Actually, I think, wasn't it The Voyage Home Star Trek IV? I'm sure it said that on the cover. Anyway, never mind. The mystery around this urban legend has since been solved and was shared by CBR. What does CBR stand for? No idea. It turns out that the woman who delivered the line actually did so by mistake. I'm going to repeat that later. I'll read it. Layla Saracallo, a bystander to the filming of Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, was the mysterious woman that gave Chekhov directions, accidentally creating an iconic moment. The mystery woman, who was identified as Layla Saracallo, I'm probably mispronouncing that, Saracallo, take your pick, appeared as an extra during one scene in the Star Trek film. The scene takes place in San Francisco, where Chekhov, Walter Koenig, and Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, are trapped and trying to find their way to the city of Alameda. They need to get to Alameda to use nuclear vessels to power their ships and send them back home to the future. No, they need to collect high-energy photons or something, don't they? To inject into the crystalline chamber or whatever. That's what they need them for. Should have brought her back on the bus in Picard Season 2 also. Well, yeah, instead of that silly man. Kirk Thatcher, they brought him back, didn't they? Instead. And cooked him. Not cooked, C-O-O-K, C-U-C-K, him. Right, where were we? The scene in itself is very funny. I hate this scene. I do. In fact, sometimes I can't get past this scene when I'm watching Star Trek 4. It gets me that mad I turn it off. I hate this scene. yeah, him saying Wessels and stuff is funny, but it's the police officer that gets on my nerves. But anyway, the scene in itself is very funny because Chekhov has a thick Russian accent that makes the word vessels sound more like Wessels, which adds even more confusion to their situation. The Star Trek characters are asking random people on the street where Alameda is and where they can find the nuclear vessels. Everyone they ask just looks at them with a confused expression, including the cop who just like stares at them. It gets on my nerves. And continues on their way, except for one woman, Layla Saracalo, Saracalo, I don't know. When the two Star Trek alumni ask Layla where they can find the nuclear vessels in Alameda, she responds by saying that she thinks they're across the bay in Alameda. Chekhov shrugs his shoulders and repeats, "That's what I said, Alameda," in a defeated yet comical tone. But yes, she said it's across the bay. At least you got a general direction. The story behind this scene is that the city towed Layla's car when it was in the way of the Star Trek production. Oblivious to the fact that there was a major motion picture being filmed in her neighborhood, Layla was shocked to find her car was towed. To help earn some extra cash to get her car back, she got a job as an extra on the set. Cool. Despite never acting before, Layla was ready to join the cast of other Star Trek extras. While the other extras did not respond or engage with Chekhov or Uhura during the scene, apologies, Layla just acted naturally as advised by the assistant director and responded to Chekhov when he asked her where Alameda was. Even though she wasn't supposed to say anything, the crew loved the moment and decided to keep it in the final cut of the film. And there's the policeman. But is he Chips? Just stands there, just looks at him. They're trying to get him from his, it's supposed to be helpful policeman, not just stare at him, even though he's got a Russian accent. Don't mean he's a Soviet spy, Lots of Russians live in America. But he's asking to see the nuclear vessels, Anyway, during a lunch break on set, Layla joined the Screen Actors Guild, or the Film Actors Guild, take your pick. A membership reserved only for those who have lines in a film. Over here, it's equity. You've got to join equity if you want to speak in the production. Her line in the Star Trek movie has lived on in infamy. They've all got it, infamy. And yet it did not inspire her to become a Hollywood star. It wasn't until many years later that she came forward to declare she was the mystery woman. And at the time, she was running a small fashion house in Paris. So she must have done all right for herself. She buggered off to Paris to open a small fashion house. Anyway. The fun, the fun fact is a good reminder to keep your eye on film extras who only share a line or two because they could be the next Hollywood star, like Clint Eastwood, Brad Pitt, or Matt Damon. Why did they say those? I don't know. But yeah, I think she's quite good, to be honest. I like her little scene, and she's got lovely hair. When she brushes her hair back, she's got lovely hair. At least she answered them. Everybody just ignoring them, and she tried to help. So good for Layla. When he went all Eric Clapton, then anyway, enough of my musical skills or lack of. Let's move on. What's next? What shall we do next? I've got one that I wasn't going to read, and no, I'm not going to bother. I'll get rid of it. Can't be bothered. We've got a list. We've got a list to finish off with. This is a Star Wars list. Oops, hang on. I forgot to go full screen. There we go. Right, 15 George Lucas plans we're very glad Star Wars movies never used. George Lucas cut a lot of different ideas from Star Wars while he was making the movies, and in some cases, he certainly made the right call. Right, and there's the man himself. George, and he's pointing there saying, see that's where it says faster with more intensity, Anthony. George Lucas left a lot of plans and ideas on the cutting room floor when he made Star Wars, and in many cases, he made the right call. Just a minute. Oh, crikey. George Lucas is a visionary filmmaker, but the sheer scale of the Star Wars movies was intimidating even for him. What's more, however, What's more, however much Lucas claimed to have planned things out well in advance, in reality, he's a much more fluid writer and director who even incorporates the ideas of others into his projects. He probably had a vague idea where he wanted things to go. But that's all it was. All that means a lot of ideas and even characters were dropped and some later reused in Lucas's original movies. Some cutscenes were later incorporated back into canon, whether though the special editions or in later retcons. Other ideas, however, were abandoned for good, and Star Wars is better for it. Right, number 15. Lightsabers were originally called laser swords with a Z. Sorry, a Z. With a Z. Modern viewers are so used to the idea of a lightsaber, but in the UK, we have the R and the E the other way around in saber. Because we can spell correctly, that it's easy to overlook how silly the name really sounds, but it could have been even sillier. It doesn't sound silly, it sounds cool as lightsaber, doesn't it? It's like the word starship. It's just two words, isn't it? Star and ship. Stick them together and it sounds this amazing, romantic thing that, I am the commander of a starship. It's cool. Anyway. Oh boy, do I hate people spelling laser with a Z? Laser is an acronym. Yes, it is. Light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. There's also masers, isn't there, which is microwaves. But anyway, when George Lucas initially came up with the idea, the most famous weapon in a Jedi's arsenal was referred to as a laser sword with a Z. Oh, specifically spelled with a Z instead of an S. This would have reduced the idea to something. When it says Z, I'm Rodney McCabe when it says Z. ZPM. This would have reduced the idea to something less than it really was, lacking the refined sound of the lightsaber everyone knows today. Yeah. But he did use the word laser sword in Phantom Menace, didn't he? Because Anakin said it, didn't he? I saw your laser sword. Right, 14. There were going to be 2 Death Stars in Return of the Jedi. That's obviously from Rogue One. Return of the Jedi was an exciting bookend to a beloved trilogy. However, it is often criticised for its lack of creativity in bringing the Death Star back. Initially, instead of a single Death Star making a comeback, there were supposed to be 2 Death Stars that the Rebellion was meant to destroy. Having 2 Death Stars in the final movie makes the destruction of the first Death Star feel too easy, as if anyone in the Rebellion could do it and the Empire would just make another. In the end, the Empire was left with the one unfinished final Death Star seen in the movie. Yeah. In my head canon, they were building the first Death Star that were completed and the second one, so like at the same time. I think along the lines of the film Contact, where John Hurt's character, I can't remember his name, but his character built the machine that they made from Alien Designs. They built the machine, and then that gets destroyed, and then we learn that he built another one. Government spending. Why build one when you can have 2 at twice the price? So that's why I think they started building the second Death Star at the same time as the first one. But obviously it wasn't finished because they wanted to finish the first one. This one wasn't finished. Probably because it was bigger. It wasn't almost twice as big, but more than twice as powerful. But anyway. Right, 13. Lightsabers, or laser swords, were not always a Jedi's weapon. There's some cool art from Ralph McQuarrie showing a stormtrooper with a lightsaber. Who we seeing there? I bet we see the bet there. We're seeing Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, the Zeb Aurelius version. Is that Leia there underneath? Sorry, Leia. In concept art for the Star Wars original trilogy, there are mock-ups of stormtroopers wielding off-coloured lightsabers. This is jarring to see, especially considering how well Jedi and Sith are known for being the only ones to wield lightsabers, with very few exceptions, such as Han Solo opening up a tauntaun. It is better that this was left on the cutting room floor, as the weapon was allowed to become famous for who wielded it, as opposed to being another everyday part of the world. Yeah, very good. Very good. Of course, we saw Finn using a lightsaber, didn't we? Not very well, to be completely honest. Right, number 12, Han Solo was going to be an alien, which I've just mentioned because I think that's supposed to be him there. And they used the design for Zeb Orrelios in Rebels, didn't they? Anyway, aliens are a massive part of the Star Wars universe. There are countless species, each with incredibly varied... Oh, no, was Zeb Orrelios originally the Chewbacca design? I can't remember now. There are countless species, each with incredibly varied looks and their own cultures. During initial drafts, Han Solo was a lizard alien as well. This would have had a negative impact on Harrison Ford's performance or required a different casting altogether, and stiff, distracted makeup would have detracted from Han's natural charisma. Yes, luckily they just went with him as a human. I'm trying to think now. The Zeb Orrelios design, I can't remember if that was supposed to be Han Solo or Chewbacca originally. Lizard people, yes, that's who it is. Hecklefish for president. 11. Obi-Wan originally killed Luke's father. Right. When the Empire... When The Empire Strikes Back was originally filmed, the person who killed Luke Skywalker's father was still up in the air. There was the story that Obi-Wan told to Luke in the first Star Wars movie. Obi-Wan's just a bald-faced liar. Which Lucas later titled A New Hope. But that was all that was really known at the time. Lucas only came up with the idea of Darth Vader being Luke's father in the second draft. Instead, the first script set up the idea Obi-Wan killed Luke's father. This would have completely removed Darth Vader's backstory. Well, in the first film, in Star Wars, he was just a henchman, wasn't he, basically? That's all he was. That's all he was, really. He was Moff Tarkin's henchman, really, wasn't he? Number 10. Anakin Skywalker and Boba Fett were written as brothers. Oh. This is I didn't know this one. The Star Wars prequel movies were initially made to flesh out Anakin Skywalker's backstory. They also made Boba Fett surprisingly important to galactic history, given his connection to the clones. Originally, though, Lucas considered the idea Boba Fett was Anakin's brother. Seeing these two intersect in this way would have been very messy, taking away an important part of the clones' origin. It would have also had a very strange impact on The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, because it would have meant Boba Fett was Luke's uncle. I think it'd have been fine, to be honest. That'd be why Vader were entrusting Boba Fett with this, these jobs, because they were the only mercenary that Darth Vader could trust if he were his brother. I think that'd have worked out fine. But never mind. It didn't anyway, so he was a clone. I think the idea he was a clone is even more ludicrous, isn't it, to be honest? But never mind. Number 9, Han Solo was an orphan and Kashyyyk. Anakin wasn't the only one who was going to receive more backstory from the prequels. When plotting out concepts, Lucas also intended to show Han's childhood as well. Han would have been a prequel-era cameo in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, as an orphan who was raised by Chewbacca. This would have fundamentally changed the relationship they had in the original series, going from a fun duo of friends to father and son. The plot would have also seen the young Han interact with Yoda, making his dismissive attitude toward the Force in the original trilogy inexplicable. Yeah, it'd have been stupid. That'd have been stupid. So I'm glad they didn't do that. I did see, though, I think it was a fan treatment for Star Wars Episode 1, where they had Han as like a cabin boy on the brand new Millennium Falcon, as like a teenager. But that'd have been rubbish as well. Right, number 8. Anakin was initially a teenager in The Phantom Menace. He should have been. He should have been old. They were too young. They were too young then. He's supposed to be 9 years old, wasn't he? I mean, and building bloody pod racing things and droids and Should have been older. Anyway, Lucas was right to believe viewers needed to see the young Anakin in Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, so they understood his innocence and backstory. Surprisingly, though, Anakin was originally planned as a teenager in the first prequel movie, with Obi-Wan closer to Qui-Gon in age. This would have completely changed the dynamic between Anakin and Padme Amidala, essentially fast-forwarding to a more mature relationship seen later in the trilogy. They could have worked with it. He should have been older. He should have been, 15 at least, in my opinion. But whatever. They should also, speaking of Phantom Menace, they should also have made C-3PO Padme's protocol droid and have 3PO and R2 thrust together when they're on the Naboo starship. That could have been their first meeting. It does explain why he's such a snob, 3PO, because he's obviously worked for royalty, which is why he's so snobby and posh. Not that he's made by a slave on Tatooine. That was stupid. Anyway, whatever. Right, number 7, Jar Jar Binks would have had elastic bones. Jar Jar Binks has always been a contentious character, and giving him elastic bones would have only served to further that. In initial versions of his character, Jar Jar's bones would have caused him to stretch and, I think that's supposed to say contort, in ways meant to be funny. Given the unfortunate backlash Jar Jar already received, this would have only made matters worse. Yeah, it'd have been silly, wouldn't it? That's Lucas thinking, we can do this with CG. Thank God he didn't. Maybe Rick McCallum said, George, calm down. We don't need that. Right, number 6, the Emperor might have been Anakin's father. Well, this has been floating around. It's actually been confirmed, hasn't it? At least in the comics. The canon comics. But anyway, let's see what it says. Lucas always intended Anakin Skywalker to be a virgin birth. No, he didn't. But he actually, when we first heard the word, the name Anakin Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, his birth wasn't even a factor. Anyway, but he actually considered the possibility Palpatine created Anakin by manipulating the midichlorians. He considered a scene where Palpatine reveals as much to Anakin, reminiscent of The Empire Strikes Back, but this would have been a rhyme too far. A rhyme? Oh my, you see, poetry, it rhymes, yeah. Interestingly, Star Wars comics, briefly seemed to suggest this controversial idea had been brought back into canon, but the Lucasfilm Story Group officially confirmed that wasn't the case. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. But why not? Why not? Why? It sounds reasonable, doesn't it? I mean, if what's his face? Kylo Ren can stop a blaster bolt in midair, I'm sure Palpatine can force manipulate some sperms and midichlorians. Anyway, number 5, Darth Maul was going to live for the sequels, and he should have done. No, but whatever. George Lucas originally had his own ideas for the Star Wars sequel trilogy. All right. I was thinking of the prequel sequels, if you know what I mean. In one version, Darth Maul and his apprentice Darth Talon, there she is, would have been the main villains. This would have meant Darth Maul lived through the events of the original trilogy. While this would have given lovers of Darth Maul more content to watch, it would have ultimately deprived viewers of his climactic fight with Obi-Wan during Star Wars Rebels, which were rubbish. I hated that. It was over with like that, wasn't it? That was it. Dead. It was stupid, so they shouldn't have done it. They should have defeated him or fought him off, and Darth Maul crawls away to lick his wounds. He's wounded again. He's not only been chopped in half in Phantom Menace. He should have maybe chopped an arm off or something, and he crawled away or escaped, or somebody saved him. Pulled him out from the killing blow of Obi-Wan Kenobi and saved him from that, and crawled away and got a robot arm. Ended up being like Darth Vader. He goes, more machine now than man, twisted and evil. But anyway, that didn't happen. So I'm coming up with all my ideas of how Star Wars should have been. Anyway, number 4, the Star Wars sequel trilogy would focus on a younger cast. which it kind of does, but never mind. Yes, somehow, Darth Maul returns. Cloning, secrets only the Sith knew. And the Kaminoans, don't forget them. George Lucas' Star Wars sequel trilogy would have been much younger, while Leia, I nearly said Leia then, didn't I? Leia would be off rebuilding the Republic and Luke similarly rebuilding the Jedi Order. The character that would eventually be known as Rey was no older than 14. This would have been much more difficult to pull off, as Star Wars is mainly focused on older protagonists. Just being on about bloody young Anakin in Phantom Menace. The only time it didn't was during during Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and that proved controversial. Yeah, it should have been a bit old. But I like Force Awakens. I've nothing against it. There's bits in it that get on my nerves because J.J. Abrams knows nothing about, anything about science and, what's the word? Suspension of disbelief, basically. Right, number 3, midichlorians could have defined the sequels. Well, they were going to go into the wills, wasn't it? Was George. Mentioned in the prequels and then never mentioned again, midichlorians are supposedly microscopic organisms that connect a being to the Force. George Lucas was obviously reading a science book or a book on biology and read about, I forgot the name of them now. Mitochondria. He probably read about them, mitochondria, and thought, because they're like the power supply for cells, aren't the mitochondria, but like the separate, they're like a living thing inside a cell, but they provide the energy for the cell, apparently. And he probably read that and thought, I will change that to midichlorians, and that's how the Force works. Anyway, this was a point of contention in the prequels, as not many viewers liked or understood this new concept. Lucas chose to drop them from the prequels due to fan reactions, but they were always there in the background. But would have doubled down on them in his own sequel trilogy, because they were going to do with the wills, wasn't it? The wills, there were the midichlorians, but within the midichlorians were the wills, weren't there? Which were like a subatomic, something to be, the quantum level of the Force or something like that. Anyway, number 2, the Force was going to get more complicated. Lucas's alternate Star Wars sequel trilogy would have explored the nature of the Force, focusing on its origins in this microscopic realm, and it would have introduced a mysterious race known as the Wills. Lucas has openly toyed with the Wills. Hang on, Wills, the Wills.
Will Wheaton.
There you go. Couldn't pass up on that, could I? Lucas has openly toyed with the Wills for decades. The original Star Wars movie was said to be from the Journal of the Wills. Yes, and the adventures of Luke Skywalker. But they're better off mysterious. These ideas sound more like an Ant-Man movie than a Star Wars one, and would have been a drastic tonal shift for the franchise. Yeah, they would. It'd have been silly. Right, number 1, the sequels would have been set a few years after Return of the Jedi. In the early 2010s, when Lucas was coming up with his sequel ideas, he initially set the films only a few years after the end of Return of the Jedi. This would mean that in canon, Luke, Leia, and Han wouldn't be much older than they are in the original trilogy, because the original actors had already aged more than that. This would mean that either CGI would be used or new actors would be hired, something that many viewers would take issue with. Why? Why take issue with being actors, recast? I don't understand. They used to recast actors all the time, characters. They used to recast characters all the time. And nobody batted an eyelid. But why is it suddenly when it's, Han, Luke, and Leia, why does everybody not want them to be recast? Well, Han was recast, wasn't he, in Solo, a Star Wars story, and we saw what happened with that. But that wasn't a terrible film. And he did a decent job. I thought it was quite good. It was Alden Ehrenreich. But anyway, whatever. Right. It wouldn't be the same without Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford in Star Wars. Yeah, it would. It would. If you pick good actors that can get through it. So there we go. 15 things George Lucas's plans were very glad Star Wars movies never used, but there should have been many others that he should have used, such as 3PO being Padme's protocol droid. That's what he should have done, in my opinion. Wingray says it couldn't get much worse. You're talking about Star Wars. No, it couldn't. But anyway, right, we'll leave it there. That's it. That's the end of the news. I did have another one. I forgot what it was now. Oh, right, with a Variety article about Marvel. I couldn't be bothered. It was actually quite long, so I couldn't be bothered. Anyway, never mind. Right, so thanks, Wingrace, for joining in, and that mysterious Archmage Frey fella over on Twitch, whoever he is. So thanks for joining in. So that's it. This I wasn't going to do this show today. I actually put a message on YouTube, a post on YouTube saying, this is cancelled because my computer's acting up. But I got it working again. It started behaving itself. So, but hopefully when this new computer comes, I've been backing up all my files. I've got like external hard drives and stuff. And I've been backing, my stuff up. And so hopefully I'll forget something, and I'll be like, I've lost all that stuff, and I'll forget something. But never mind. Anyways, I don't know when it's coming. It's ordered. It cost me an arm and a leg. Aidan, my son, were playing on me. How much did it cost? It don't matter, Aidan. It's not your money. Anyway, Wingrace says, Jean-Luc on the new computer. I think he's drinking. Right, we'll leave it there. So, thanks for watching. Sorry, I'm all dry on my mouth then. Thanks for watching. Wherever you are, look after each other. And until next time, I'll see thee.